You're not in the on-deck circle. You're up to bat. Go
Well,
ahead.
thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to follow up on Ranking Member Capito's question regarding advanced nuclear reactors, specifically fuel. Wyoming has enough uranium to power America's nuclear fleet for decades, including new advanced reactors. But America lacks the ability to enrich uranium to create the high-assay, low-enriched uranium, or HALEU for short, that those reactors will need. Today, the only source of that uranium is Russia. America's national security requires HALEU enrichment capabilities today, but building those plants will require a license from the NRC. So what can be done to ensure that any application for HALEU enrichment can be expedited? I address the question to both of you.
Yes, Senator, I understand there is a need for this high-assay, low-enriched uranium. And the need is getting more and more pressing, I think, as companies further their development and look forward to filing applications. Their fuel will need to come from somewhere. There are 3 companies out there that have enrichment technologies, some of which have licenses, but probably not licenses for this level of assay. Yeah. So were they to pursue construction of a facility, they would need to gain a license amendment to enrich to that level. And once again, that's something that would be through our fuel facilities branch. And I would expect making sure that such companies give appropriate notice to the agency so that the agency can budget accordingly. It's a matter of resourcing, and that our personnel are certainly capable of conducting those reviews. There's one company out there in New Mexico that is currently operational. It would also need to pursue a license amendment to do that extra capacity. But I believe the agency is certainly capable of accomplishing that should any or all of those companies come forward.
So how do the commission members, I want to get to you as well, same question. How do the commission members get things past square one?
It really begins with the applicants. The commission can't review something that isn't before it. So it really begins with the applicants notifying the agency that they intend to file an application. And that is the signal, if you will, that the agency needs to budget staff accordingly and train so that we're ready as soon as those applicants file their application so we can conduct an efficient review. But that's really the starting signal, if you will. Other than that, we have significant staff on board with expertise in these areas. It would simply be a matter of refining that expertise and making sure we're adequately staffed.
Thank you. Mr. Crowell?
Thank you, Senator Lummis. I agree with the premise of your question, and I would say that it's long overdue in being addressed, both from our national security as well as a energy security standpoint. We have to do it. We have to pursue this in a responsible way, but do it quickly. If we are going to, position ourselves to really lead in the advanced nuclear technologies in reactor space, we can't do it without a secure domestic supply of enriched fuel as necessary. So, to the extent that I think that the commission should be willing and able and nimble in responding to any application that comes before it. And my understanding is that the commission is working on implementing a more iterative process with applicants for various applications, and I think that's a good way to expedite things. And so I will look into this, and I agree that it's of urgency.
Thank you both for that response. And as you both know, certain technologies for use in uranium ore processing are dual-use remediation technologies. They can not only be used in NRC-regulated activities, but remediation projects governed by other agencies like the EPA. So the NRC's determinations in regulating certain technologies would directly impact their use for remediation projects under other agencies. Will you work to inform yourselves and work with us on developing these dual-purpose technologies going forward? Again, addressing it to both of you.
Thank you, Senator. I have actually toured several uranium production facilities in Wyoming, both in my former capacity, but also as a commissioner. So I'm somewhat familiar with the uranium production technology. I'm not specifically familiar with the remediation technology that you've mentioned, but I would certainly look at that and work with my colleagues to address that technology.
Thank you. Mr. Crowell?
Thank you, Senator. I agree that there's some promising technologies out there, and I think similar to the discussion earlier about how small modular reactors may help with our waste profile by using spent fuel or reprocessing, we could do the same potentially through remediation on the uranium front. I know this is of particular interest to Senator Kelly as well in his state, but I think it's the NRC's responsibility to be knowledgeable in these areas so that if something does come before the commission for approval, that they can act quickly and responsibly.
Well, thank you both. Thanks for your willingness to serve, and I agree, this is something Senator Kelly and I will have in common that we can work with you on. Thank you. Thanks, Mr.